traumatic stress disorder and having all sorts of other problems. So, in fact, in the United States, one of the first real, pillars, I guess you could say, that undermining the law has been, the hospitals of Vietnam vets, where that they've tolerated often the use of cannabis because it's much more effective than the other drugs they give them. So, yeah, with the exception of Vietnam, though, not a lot is really known. Certainly, I think Cambodia up in the hills, they love their herb and there as well. But again, it's not being exported really anywhere. They haven't established the markets. Even in Vietnam, they didn't actually start shipping it over here. They were barely keeping themselves supplied. But the seeds started coming back, and just the general knowledge of the plant as well. Europe, again, it's hard to categorize exactly how it's all going down right now. Started talking about Amsterdam and the Netherlands. All sorts of interesting changes have been going on. There's almost this constant ebb and flow between the Christian right and sort of the liberal Democrats, if you want to just be black and white about it. And so every time we exercise our rights and get a little bit more, free out there, they get all worried and start voting for each other harder. And so there's been a push to be more regulated and more restrictive in Amsterdam and the Netherlands. They've tried to shut down stores near schools. They're trying to shut them down near the borders. There's this new law that's in the works that would actually ban drug tourism somehow. I don't know exactly why or how they think they're going to be able to enforce that, but there's German tourists kind of coming up there in droves and essentially just like partying in these small towns and then going home and such, and so they're quite tired of that, and just I think some of them, not all of them, right, because most of them just love the money, but the conservative right is really not happy at all with the image that they're this tolerant, poly whatever kind of country. And so there's been, like I say, this kind of back and forth. They actually have, and I think they're still in existence, they've trained and hired hundreds of inspectors to make sure that nobody's smoking tobacco in the hash or any of the other facilities in any way, shape, or form, spliffs and stuff like that. So, I have a great place in the world that I would love to be trained and to think that that would be my job. Yeah, anyway, Amsterdam's this really funny situation. Other countries, for the most part, can't be said to be so liberal at all. France is pretty tight about things. You don't want to be caught by the police in France with hash. You're not going to find pots. You don't even have to worry about it, apparently. At least not in the bigger cities like Paris and stuff. They are, and have historically been using hash for a very long time. You can read literature from the 1800s. There was a group of French aristocrats that formed the Club of Hashashins, sort of making a mockery of the assassin sort of, I guess, story in a way. But the use of hash in France goes back, really hundreds of years. It's nothing new at all. But really, cannabis isn't used a lot there, and I may have to say the same for Germany, but Germany's switching a little bit. Some Germans, well, I guess I got German descent, so we can be pretty aggressive, I guess, and determined and really out there. So there are people in Germany growing pot, no matter what the hell the law is doing to them.
I have like 8 friends who are German, and they're all underage, right? So they're kind of, in areas where they are, the cops aren't that bad on it, but if they catch you underage smoking pot, you don't get to take your driver's test for another year.
Oh, okay.
It's really weird. It's like, yeah, whatever, we don't really care, but you can't drive for another year.
I thought it was getting better. I think for growing and stuff, it's still quite harsh for growing or trafficking. Possession, yeah, I think possession's getting more tolerated in a lot of these countries.
Portugal.
Even Portugal was what I was going to come to. On sort of the other end of the spectrum, has actually decriminalized the possession of small amounts of pretty much everything out there. And you know, they're not too keen on the trafficking, but in essence, if anyone in Europe has actually got out of the war on drugs right now, it would be Portugal. They've kind of, it's not the perfect model, you know, because it allows, you know, what are generally referred to as organized criminals or any other opportunist out there to just get in the market. And so all you need is a boat to start shipping hash from Morocco and row it across the Mediterranean Sea and you're in business. So, yeah, but apparently actually, you know, they're still trying to enforce the harbor a little bit, but you know, I think one of the reasons that they gave up on it was like, what are you going to do? There's just so many boats coming back and forth. And, it would be impossible to monitor. So yeah, so they're kind of, you know, cracking from the north and the south. The United Kingdom is another interesting area right now. The media are calling them cannabis factories. I should say them grow-ops. So it's getting in the news quite a bit because you've got all these little old ladies growing pot for themselves and their neighbors, and they're getting busted, and they're pretty outspoken over in that part of the world too. So some of the quotes, if you read the media, can be kind of funny at times, the way people look at things. But certainly there's a swelling of interest in the use of cannabis for medical purposes occurring, I think, in the UK more than the other countries. You know, it's weird. You'd think Amsterdam would be all over it, but I've heard very little about it. And although I think that Amsterdam has a medical marijuana program, but they're not giving it for free. It's actually cheaper to buy it from the cafes than it is from the government of Amsterdam, sort of thing, if you got medical problems. And so, and the quality's better at the clubs anyway, so anybody who's sick kind of ignores the government's. Switzerland has a medical marijuana program happening that's probably one of the better in the world in some sense, but they're really strict on recreational use still. Anyway, the UK, yeah, they have some hemp stores and stuff just getting going, but yeah, for the most part, they're you know, I think really trying to supply themselves domestically so they don't have to pay the prices of products coming all the way from Africa, because they've got to have it come, like, you know, in through Portugal, Spain, or whatever, and then, you know, across through France, because they don't have as many boats going all the way around, especially, I'm sure, with the tunnel being in there now. They probably take most things on land. So, yeah, the UK is trying to supply itself, in part because of its proximity.
Most of it is such shit. I got a throat ulcer from smoking it, because no one smokes pure. They all roll with tobacco.
They do, yeah.
When I went there, I thought everyone was so groovy, but then I realized they roll their own cigarettes, and so they just pop some in there. But no one really smokes pure. So it's a big deal. Like, Canadians over there are like...
Yeah. Yeah, we do stick out and are proudly, I think, you know, doing that more so all the time with the way that we love our herb.
I actually had a situation in Rotterdam where I had to define myself as a Canadian just to really smoke as much as I was going to, because it's true what you said about the tobacco, not like they're really all over like no tobacco. And my buddy had wandered off down to start rolling, and he was pretty high at the time, so he it was like the third cafe we'd hit up, and it was like 10 in the morning. And so, you know, he didn't hear the guy when he said no smoking down there. He just went off. And I said, well, you know, there's ashtrays. Why aren't you allowed smoking? He said, no, only pure down there. You can smoke your tobacco up there. And I go, no, it's okay. I'm Canadian. He was like, oh, okay. Oh, no. First, he said, I said, no, it's okay. Like, we only smoke pure. And he said, okay, well, you're only going to want to smoke half the joint. I said, well, it's okay. I'm Canadian. He was on
Yeah. Yeah, we are particularly here on the coast. I'm sorry, I can't take more questions. We're past 4 o'clock, really. I got to wrap it.